Hello. This is my first story, a project I initially began as a hobby for myself and my friends. While I have utilized AI-generated art to help bring the world to life, I have personally crafted each prompt to ensure the visuals are unique and align with my specific vision. The story itself, including the lore, characters, and world building, is entirely my own work. As a dedicated fan of Lovecraftian horror and sci-fi franchises like Stargate and The Expanse, I've poured those influences into this universe. I've put a lot of heart into these characters and this world. I hope you enjoy the journey. Please feel free to leave a like and subscribe, and share any recommendations or feedback you may have. Best, Sinister Crust. The plot follows the crew of the BEETLE 68, an industrial-grade exploration vessel operated by the United Space Federation. They travel the barren and often perilous expanses of undiscovered space. Unlike sleek, utopian sci-fi, the world of BEETLE 68 is defined by hydraulic fluid, redundant plating, and heavy, industrialized hulls. The environment is a constant cacophony of life support systems and grinding machinery. The narrative functions as a technological log from the ship's commander, prioritizing cold functionality over human comfort. Amidst the scent of grease and the hum of the engines, the crew navigates the bleak borders of the unknown in search of first contact. However, their mission soon spirals into cosmic horror. They stumble upon dead galaxies and anomalies that defy the laws of reality, revealing a universe of total indifference. While the crew is haunted by the dread of these silent graveyards, the USF remains oblivious, treating their harrowing discoveries as mere technical data. Under the weight of industrial brutalism, the crew stands alone against a vacuum that is not just empty, but predatory. The environment is a constant cacophony of life support systems and grinding machinery. The narrative functions as a technological log from the ship's commander, prioritizing cold functionality over human comfort. Amidst the scent of grease and the hum of the engines, the crew navigates the bleak borders of the unknown in search of first contact. However, their mission soon spirals into cosmic horror. They stumble upon dead galaxies and anomalies that defy the laws of reality, revealing a universe of total indifference. And now, let's dive into the story. Captain's Log, Entry 001. Date: redacted, Manufacturing Bay, overlooking BEETLE 68. Location: Venus Deep Earth Space Hold, High Pressure Forge 4. Vessel: YEX 734 Osiris Explorer, BEETLE 68. The sound of a heavy, mechanical click. A low, analog hiss follows, the distinctive white noise of a high-fidelity magnetic tape. Through the background, there is the deep, rhythmic thrum of the Osiris 7 FDL core, a sound like a sleeping giant breathing through a mile of lead and steel. They say Venus was a hellscape for 1,000 years. Now, it's an example of industrial brutalism in space. It's fitting, I suppose. If you want to build a ship that can survive the void, you birth it in the crushing dark of an acid-choked orbital forge. I'm looking through the reinforced glass steel of the tandem cockpit right now. Outside, the orange-tinted sulfur clouds are churning against the docking bay shields. The BEETLE 68, adorably named by my crew, is finally unmoored. She's uglier than the propaganda videos would suggest. Heavily armored, industrial, reinforced with weld lines, and covered with redundant plating. She looks like a coffin made for exploring the unknown void of space. Earth feels like a lifetime ago. The Great Leap happened so fast it left the rest of our history in the dust. We went from bickering over Earth and Mars to space exploration within a decade. The Great Phalonic War is still fresh in my mind, but humanity moved on to new frontiers. We've got the giant wheel rest stops at the Lagrange points now, gray and blue painted, rotating cans of iron and redundancy where the coffee tastes like recycled sweat and the air is always too dry. But they work. Everything we build now works, functioning with redundancy and over-engineering. But this, the Osiris project, this is different. The Venusian docks are humming. There are 7 other sister ships of the Explorer class in here, still in their manufacturing cradles, hulls being bolted together by mechanics and builder drones. In other manufacturing hubs, 6 battle cruisers are looming in the upper decks. It will still take some time before those ships are battle-ready. Somewhere, deep in the heavy gravity wells of the build lines, over 100 mechanical apparatuses and build drones are welding the Dauntless, the flagship of the USF. It is currently under construction, intended to become the pride of the United Space Federation. Our ship is ready to become the first Corvette-class explorer ship to embark on its Voyager mission. The tip of the spear against the void, as General Hallway so proudly puts it, though I can't shake a lingering sense of doubt and quiet existential dread. I've finished the final sweep. The lower storage is packed tight. The molecular fabricator is primed with enough feedstock to rebuild this entire deck if the void decides to take a bite out of our tin can. I checked the greenhouse earlier. The moss is green, the O2 is sweet. It's the only soft thing in this flying tank. My crew is in the nest. The med bay is silent. The orange industrial lights are dimmed to 40% for the jump. We're heading into the deep unknown. No maps, no beacons, just the FTL core and whatever is waiting for us on the other side of the fold. People are calling it an adventure. I've seen the way the hull groans under the pressure of the Venusian clouds, and I've got a different word for it. We aren't going out there to find a new home. We're going out there to see if the dark has teeth. I keep thinking about the ships I used to fly. For years, hauling high-cat cargo in old-school rocket pulse propulsion thrusters. Massive, vibrating metal coffins that took months to cross the void between Earth and Mars. You felt every burn, every gravity slingshot. Then the Great Leap hit. I was recalled to Earth on direct order of Commander Hallway, stripped of my retrofitted cargo freighter and shoved into 2 years of the most grueling command training in human history. They were pushing us, hard and rushed. Simulations that lasted 30 hours straight. Training meant to make us capable of soloing this entire 42-meter beast if the rest of the crew goes dark. It's gruesome. It used to take decades to master a Corvette, yet they only gave us months. Mars used to be a journey of seasons. Now, from the lunar hub, it's a morning commute. It doesn't feel right. Like we're sprinting toward a cliff we can't see yet. My crew were feeling it, too. We're a mixed bag, hand-picked for a mission no one fully explains. I am Commander Warden Vance, though most who have served under me simply call me Warden. My life has been defined by the high-stakes discipline of the Earth Vanguard Special Unit and the harsh lessons of the Phalonic War. After the war transitioned from the front lines of traditional warfare to the simple life of a cargo hauler, I was quickly pulled away by my old mentor to lead the BEETLE initiative. I now serve as the commanding officer of the BEETLE 68 and the captain of the primary away team, BEETLE 01. My role is to serve as both the tactical anchor and the protector of this crew. Lyra Kahan Astra, my pilot. She's Europa Air Force, directly sent out of Mars. Former Sunseeker, a legendary fighter squadron from the war, used to flying in the high-velocity, low-visibility atmospheres of the Jovian moons. She's a perfect fit for all the stripes she wears, and she's the coolest head I've ever seen in a cockpit. She's soft-spoken, caring, the kind of person who double-checks everyone's harness before a burn. But when the G-force hits, she's made of stone precision. She's the top of the line Mars had to offer, and she knows it. We might have been enemies during the war if we had met, but now, having 2 years of rigorous training together, we have developed a certain kind of respect for each other's perspective. The kind of respect you only gain when one person knows what the other went through. Then there's Kalen Sandors. He's the typical corporate-backed guy. During the training phase, the upper management pushed him through as our primary advisor. Civilian, quiet, always looking at his data pad. He feels like a liability, a desk jockey shoved into a flying tank. I don't know why he's here, and honestly, I don't think he wants to be here, either. But management was adamant. The BEETLE doesn't leave without him. And finally, Dr. Silas Richard. The crew calls him Doc Silas. He's our medic and the guy who keeps the greenhouse breathing. He's eccentric. He talks to the plants more than the crew. He's older, 51 years old, and served as a medic during the Phalonic War Oswell. Cynical, with a dry wit that cuts through the tension like a plasma torch. He's seen enough trauma to be numb to it, yet he treats a wilted leaf with the tenderness of a saint. The sound of the magnetic tape engaging is crisp. In the background, there is the muffled noise of a celebratory fanfare fading out. The ceremony was as hollow as a spent shell casing. Federation Commander Hallway and the high-ranking brass from Earth and Mars were all there, standing on the observation gantry with medals pinned to their chests, looking down at us like we were sacrifices. They pinned the first crew badge to our left shoulders, a matching BEETLE 01 insignia. Honorary, they called it, but from my point of view, it just felt like a target. The press conference was a blur of flashes and scripted answers about humanity's great leap and the new frontier. I didn't have anyone to call for a final goodbye. While Lyra was whispering to her old squadron from her time back on Europa, her eyes soft, but her jaw set, and Doc Silas was mitigating arguments between his grandchildren about who gets his vintage record collection, I just sat in the prep room and checked my magnetic boots. No sense in making a call when there's no one on the other end who needs to hear it. We're in the cockpit now. I've taken my seat on the left. Lyra is to my right. She's already running the pre-burn diagnostic, her fingers dancing over the haptic glass with that Europa AF precision. Behind us, Doc Silas and Kalen are strapped into the jump seats that pop down from the bulkhead. Utilitarian, cramped seats that'll be replaced by the gunner consoles if we ever have to drop the hammer. Suddenly, the dashboard's hollow projector flickers to life. A miniature, blue-tinted version of the commander appears. His expression is stern. BEETLE 01. Hallway's voice crackles through the cockpit. This is the final debrief. Your mission parameters are clear. Sector 0, Alpha Centauri, Cen-prime system. Our nearest neighbor, but to us, it's still the dark side of the moon. Priority 1. Contact with sentient life, should it exist. Priority 2. Geological surveys for high-yield mining. Priority 3. Biological and non-biological sampling. You are the hands of Earth. Always approach with a non-threatening posture. Friendly first. But remember the armor you're sitting in. Don't let them bite. He paused, a flicker of something, maybe guilt, maybe fear, crossing his holographic face. Godspeed. Bring us back something worth the cost, crackles from one of the corpo leads, overcutting hallway. The projection died. Alpha Centauri, 4 light years in a heartbeat. It still doesn't feel real, Kalen muttered from the back, his voice thin. It'll feel real when the G-force pins your tongue to the back of your throat, researcher, Doc Silas grumbled, though I could hear him checking the seals on his medical kit for the 10th time. Lyra looked over at me. Her expression was cool, professional, but her hand was hovering over the FDL ignition. Captain, all systems are green. The Venusian hold is clearing the bay. Alpha Centauri is waiting. The orange industrial glow is reflecting off the HUD. Lyra is running the final thruster sync. Silas is in the back checking the cryo seals. Kalen is staring at a sensor array as he calibrates his drones in the background. We're ready, or as ready as 2 years of rush drills can make us. The Osiris 7 core is at 98% resonance. I can feel the vibration in my teeth as I signal the go. I look out through the reinforced glass steel. The sulfur clouds are parting. It is time to see if the Great Leap was a jump forward or a fall into the dark pit of the unknown. Engage. The Osiris 7 core roared. The orange lights turned a blinding, screaming white. We discovered the thinning of the fabric of space near the Venusian zone 15 years ago. It made headlines across every network across Earth, Mars, Luna, and the asteroid colonies. Now we are the first humans preparing to pass through it using faster-than-light travel. Before us, only a handful of probes were sent to assess its stability. For the most part, it held steady, aside from occasional bursts of energy interference, or so the reports claimed. We have nothing to worry about, they said. Yes, of course. I let out a quiet chuckle, thinking about when I heard that in the classified briefing for the first time. The sound of the Osiris 7 core vibrating at its peak frequency. It's not the rattling roar of the old rocket thrusters. It's a smooth, haunting vibration that seems to resonate in the marrow of your bones. They told us in the simulations that FTL transit would feel like a blink. 7 hours for us, but mere minutes for anyone watching from the Venus docks. Inside the Beetle, it feels like time has turned into liquid. Outside the glass steel, the universe isn't black anymore. It's a smear of iridescent violets and deep, bruising blues of the fold. The ship is on autopilot now, gliding through the wormhole zone with a grace that belies its 1,250 tons of armored plating. Since we've been a team for 2 years through the training phase, the new ship jitters have settled into a comfortable, practiced rhythm. I walked the lower decks an hour ago. Down in the lower storage, the orange industrial lights were dimmed. I found Kalen and Doc Silas near the molecular fabricator. Kalen was actually being useful for once, helping Silas calibrate the nutrient flow for the greenhouse. There was no bickering, just two men who have mutual respect and a knack for technology, moving in sync. Silas was grumbling about the berries needing more blue spectrum light, and Kalen was just nodding with a neutral expression. I headed back up to the command deck. Lyra was still at her station on the right. She didn't need to stay in the cockpit strictly. The ship is flying itself. But she says she was always a stick-and-rudder girl. I stood behind her for a moment, watching the way the FTL glow reflected off her Europa AF flight suit. She sensed me there. She didn't turn around, but I saw her shoulders relax just a fraction. The FTL core is holding steady at 0.09, and the engine is stable, she said, her voice soft, barely over a whisper. Good, I replied. I reached out, ostensibly to check the heatsink monitor on her console, and for a split second, my hand brushed her shoulder. In any other fleet, it would have been nothing. But here, under the strict USF military stigma, that half second of contact felt like a lightning strike. She looked up, her eyes meeting mine in the reflection of the glass steel. No words, just a quiet, cool-minded understanding. She's the best pilot I've ever known, and maybe, in this tiny 42-meter world, the only person who truly knows what it's like to carry the weight of this great leap. Go get some rest, Captain, she said, a tiny, almost invisible smile playing at the corner of her mouth. I've got the watch. I'm back in my bunk now, staring at the BEETLE 01 badge on my suit. 3 hours until we drop out into Alpha Centauri. 3 hours of peace before we find out what's waiting for us in our nearest neighbor's yard. As I look out through the bunk viewport, watching the violet tunnel of the FTL bubble, I can't help but wonder in awe. God, it's beautiful in here. I hope the reality matches the view. Transit end. 3 hours. The hum off the FTL core suddenly shifts. The melody drops into a heavy, bass-thumping thud. The violet smears outside the window snap back into needle-sharp points of light. The BEETLE 68 groans as it re-enters real space with thunderous crackling, a visible tear through the fabric of space itself, as we are spat out of the violet fold with a violent shake. The exit wasn't a fade, it was a rupture. We tore back into real space with a flash of white-blue lightning that must have looked like a dying star to anyone watching. For a second, the BEETLE felt like it was being squeezed by a giant hand, and then silence. The rupture instantly folded on itself and disappeared as if nothing had happened, followed by absolute, haunting silence, apart from BEETLE 68 sublight engines turning on slowly. Captain, we're through. Lyra's voice rings out, professional and sharp. I look out the main viewport, and it is truly breathtaking. Alpha Centauri A and B hang in the distance like two twin hearts of fire, casting a brilliant, dual-toned gold and white light across the cockpit. The radiation shielding on the hull hums as it deflects the solar winds of a new sun. The audio starts with a violent, electric crackle as the sound of space itself being stitched back together. There is a deep, metallic groan from the BEETLE's frame, followed by the smooth, rising hum of the sublight engines. I didn't have to give the order. We've lived in those simulators for 2 years. The crew was already in their seats before the G-force leveled out. We engaged our VR link. It is the eye of the BEETLE. Through the headsets, the cockpit walls seemed to vanish, replaced by a seamless 360-degree feed from the exterior hull cameras. It's a disorienting, out-of-body view where the ship is floating as a tiny, bronze and iron speck against the dual glare of the Centauri suns. Transitioning to sublight, Lyra called out. I watched her hands move with cool precision. She cut the FTL feed, the shimmering fumes of the fold dissipating into the vacuum, and engaged the quad-ion thrusters. We're running cold now. Our closed-loop heating system is working overtime, the heat converters damping almost every thermal signature into the ship's internal sinks. Only the faint blue plume of our sublight engines gives us away, but as of right now, we're the only ones here. Or so it seems. Deep space telemetry is live. Kalen's voice came through the comms, steady but tinged with that researcher's hunger. Laser guidance, radar, and LiDAR are painting the system. LiDAR is hitting a high-density body approximately 2 astronomical units out. Captain, it's not just a rock. The debris field is almost non-existent. It's too clean, like someone swept the porch. I checked the 360-degree feed. The telemetry was projecting a tactical overlay onto my vision with green arcs and distance markers dancing across the stars. Centauri A and B are breathtaking, twin golden-white giants casting long, sharp shadows across our hull. We're moving at a steady cruising speed now, sticking to the protocol. Friendly first. We're broadcasting the Federation's standard greeting on all bands, a mathematical sequence of prime numbers and a low-frequency peace note. Doc, how's the greenhouse? I asked, keeping my eyes on the LiDAR sweep. The berries are leaning toward the new suns, Captain, Silas replied, a bit of the old cynic back in his voice. They like the light, better than the artificial crap in the Venus hold. Let's just hope the locals have a similar taste for hospitality. We're now gliding deeper into the system. The green planet dubbed Cen-prime is getting larger on the sensors. It's beautiful, shrouded in white clouds and deep, emerald oceans. It looks like Earth before we covered it in concrete and steel. But something feels too quiet. We're the first thing to enter this system in a billion years, or the first thing to move this fast. Steady as she goes, Lyra, I said. Let's see what home looks like when it belongs to someone else. Sensors sweep active. Kalen calls out from the rear seat, his voice filled with genuine awe. Captain, I'm picking up a terrestrial body in the Goldilocks zone. High oxygen signature. It's green. We actually found one, as the command suggested. Our cockpit feed pulls up a video feed of Cen-prime. We almost missed it. There is a lot of sensor interference, but God, isn't it beautiful? I muttered to myself in awe and anticipation of our first contact. The atmosphere on Cen-prime is a thick, swirling soup of nitrogen and heavy CO2, so dense our long-range satellites back at the Venus docks couldn't pierce the veil. From the edge of the system, it looked like a marble of dead green. But as we crossed the orbital threshold, the LiDAR finally bit into something solid. Life. A planet practically choked with it. Through the 360 VR link, I'm seeing forests that look like towers of emerald coral stretching kilometers into the sky. And beneath that canopy, settlements. No megacities, no sprawling industrial metropolises like back on Earth. Just clusters of low, stone and clay structures that look almost feudal and primitive. Look at the thermal spread. Kalen's voice crackled from the back. I could hear the frantic tapping of his keys. There's no electrical grid, no radio noise. They're using thermal vents for heat. Captain, this is a textbook Type 0 civilization. We're the first aliens they've ever seen. Maybe, I muttered, watching the sensor sweep. Or maybe they just don't want to be found. They look humanoid, Lyra whispered, her eyes locked on the Zoom feed. 2 arms, 2 legs, but the head has some type of mushroom growth over their brain and skin with bioluminescent runes. They aren't running, Captain. They're standing in the squares, looking up. They aren't pointing in wonder, they're just waiting. Doc, check the bio readings, I commanded. Atmosphere is breathable but heavy on the lungs, Silas grumbled. Expect a lot of coughing until the 02 scrubber adjusts. But look at their faces on the high res. They aren't afraid. Not in the way you'd expect. There's fear, yeah, but it's familiar. Like they've seen the sky open before. I signaled for the descent. Lyra, take us down. Soft landing protocol. Burn the thrusters for a hover drop. Let's show them we aren't a meteor. The Beetle 68 groaned as we hit the upper thermosphere. The orange industrial lights in the cockpit flickered as the friction built up. Lyra engaged the quad-ion thrusters, the blue plumes acting as massive retro rockets, kicking up a colossal storm of red dust and emerald leaves. As we hovered over a central stone plaza, Kalen was sweating. He was hunched over the linguistic generator, the device Earth spent millions of credits on, designed to analyze vocal patterns and build a bridge in real time. I'm picking up a rhythmic vocalization, he shouted over the roar of the engines. It's not a language I've ever seen modeled, but the structure is ancient. I'm feeding it through the primary core. Come on, you expensive piece of junk. We touched down. The landing struts hissed as they pressurized, biting into the alien stone. I looked through the glass steel. Hundreds of them were there. Humanoid, tall, with eyes that caught the dual sunlight like obsidian. They didn't flee from the roar of our engines. They didn't bow. They stood there, trembling, but with a strange, haunting expectation. It was like they were looking at a ghost they'd been told would return. Decontamination airlock is primed, Lyra said, her voice unusually small. Captain, what do we say to a world that was already expecting us? The audio recording captures a series of rhythmic, metallic thuds, the sound of the crew racking weapons and checking gear. There is the high-pitched whine of the Deccan lock cycling, followed by the deep, atmospheric hiss of the Alpha Centauri air mixing with the Beetle's recycled oxygen. Safety off, I commanded. It's the first thing we were taught in the USF simulator. It doesn't matter how green the grass looks. You don't step off the ramp without a grip on your sidearm. I ordered the crew into full tactical Ragnarok gear. Heavy-duty plates, mag holsters at our hips, and non-lethal taser rifles slung across our chests. I checked the atmosphere readouts one last time. It's intoxicating. The oxygen count is higher than Earth's best-case scenarios, and the pollution sensors are reading absolute zero. It's a world that breathes. The airlock hissed open. As we stepped onto the ramp, a swarm of our reconnaissance drones surged past us, fanning out in a 360-degree perimeter. They recorded every pebble, every blade of emerald grass, and every twitch of the beings standing before us. These inhabitants are deeply, almost unervingly connected to this place. Their architecture isn't built on the ground, it's grown from it. Their weapons are mainly spears and bows that look like hardened, obsidian-tipped vines, clearly inferior to our coil beams, but they hold them with a practiced, natural grace. This is a civilization that chose the forest over the forge. Kalen stepped forward, his hand shaking slightly as he held the USF linguistic generator. We'd sent the deep beam embedded message hours ago, hoping the mathematical primes would prepare them for our arrival. He activated the speaker, and a series of clicking, melodic tones echoed through the plaza as the million-credit scripts tried to find a bridge. We come in peace. The device synthesized, the translation looping back into our headsets with a slight delay. The oldest among them, a tall figure with skin that shimmered like a moonlit tide, stepped forward. He didn't look at our guns, nor did he look at the drones buzzing like angry insects around his head. Instead, he looked directly at the Beetle 01 badge. His eyes were wide, filled with a haunting, ancient fear. It wasn't the fear of a primitive seeing a god. It was the fear of a man seeing a storm cloud on the horizon. The metal seed, the translator crackled, struggling with the alien's response. You return, but the dark follows the steel. Lyra shifted beside me, her hand tightening on her taser grip. Captain, did you hear that? They aren't afraid of us. They're afraid of what we bring. Stay sharp, I muttered into the comms. Increase scan radius of the drones. Kalen, ask him what he means by the dark. The elder reached out, not to touch me, but to point toward our ship. He made a gesture that looked like a closing mouth. The Sky Eaters, the translator whispered in my ear. They felt your jump. They are waking. The rhythmic crunch of crystalline gravel under military boots echoes through the settlement as we move deeper into the interior. In the distance, the low buzzing of the BEETLE's drones creates a steady electronic hum, contrasting sharply with the melodic, flute-like calls of unseen creatures hidden within the canopy. Kalen is struggling to maintain his professional composure, but I can hear the academic gears grinding over the comms as he tries to rationalize the Elder's warning with the logic of a man who hasn't spent enough time in a cockpit. "It's likely a localized superstition, Captain," Kalen whispers as we pass under an archway grown from living wood. "High-altitude predators, perhaps." Folklore often elevates seasonal storms or migratory hunters to mythical status. Sky eaters is a common linguistic trope for natural phenomena or predators in many cultures. We shouldn't let a primitive prophecy rattle us. I keep my eyes on the 360-degree tactical overlay in my HUD, replying firmly, "Tell that to the telemetry, Kalen." The drones don't have superstitions, and they're still picking up atmospheric disturbances that don't match local weather patterns. Superstition or not, they are always based on some truth behind it. We finally reached the Elder's dwelling, a hollowed, fossilized trunk of a colossal tree fused with polished obsidian and glowing moss. This culture appears incredibly reclusive, lacking even basic roads to connect their settlements, as if they are mere islands of life in a sea of emerald. Near the perimeter, Doc Silas chimes in with rare, genuine wonder. "Captain, look at this. The flora here, it's not just growing. It's networked. These root systems are transmitting low-frequency electrical pulses like a global nervous system. If the Elder says the sky is waking up, the trees might actually be the ones telling him so." As we walk up to the middle of the village, a large structure is situated there, promptly named the Sanctum by Lyra, as we follow the Elder inside. Inside the sanctum, Lyra stays close, her sidearm lowered but ready, her eyes scanning the shadows with Europa-honed precision. "Captain," she mutters, leaning in so the translator won't catch it. "Look at the walls. Those aren't just decorations." She's right. The interior is covered in precise, geometric carvings that resemble star charts, yet they contain lines connecting Alpha Centauri to nowhere. The Elder sits upon a throne of woven roots and gestures for us to sit. The linguistic generator on Kalen's belt chirps as it rapidly absorbs more of the Elder's syntax. The metal seed returns, the Elder says, his voice sounding like grinding stone. "But your breath is of the forge. You have forgotten the great silence. You jump through the crack in the sky and ring the bell that calls the hunger." I step forward, my voice steady. "We are explorers from Earth. We seek knowledge and friendship. We mean no harm to the green." I keep my voice calm and deliberate. The Elder's obsidian eyes linger on me, ancient and unmoved. "Your origin means nothing to us, strangers," they say at last. "It has no root in our knowing. But your coming, that we can feel. Our nature can feel it too." They lift a slender hand toward the sky. "You did not arrive quietly. You tore the sky. The Sky Eaters do not see as you do. They feel such wounds. Such noise is what attracts them." A pause, heavy with meaning. Their gaze sharpens. "If they answer, they will not come for your vessel. They will come for the noises you are making and everything around it." Suddenly, Lyra's voice cuts in, sharp and professional. "Captain, Drone 4 is reporting a massive electronic input at 10,000 feet. It's struggling to maintain altitude with no obvious mechanical failure prompt, just a sudden change in air density, like something is displacing the atmosphere." I speak up, ordering Doc and Kalen to focus their sensors on the soil while I address the Elder, offering our defense. He only shakes his head as his bioluminescent skin dims. "You cannot shoot the shadow that follows the light. You must go, or your metal will be the end of the green, the end of us. Your jump, it was too loud." "He's terrified," Lyra whispers. "Not of us, of being near us." I look at the skylight of translucent resin, realizing we weren't trained for a planet that perceives our very presence as a scream in a quiet room. "Stay sharp," I order the crew. "We're not leaving yet. We need to know what we're being blamed for." The interior of the sanctum is filled with the crackle of a bioluminescent hearth, with a low, rhythmic pulsing sound that feels like the heartbeat of the building itself. In the background, the sharp, digital chirp of Kalen's portable antennas provides a steady, syncopated beat against the alien evening. I've ordered the crew to gather every scrap of data they can while we're on the ground, with a tinge of caution. Meanwhile, Lyra, surprisingly, has a way with the locals that the USF simulators couldn't teach. She found one of the children suffering from severe respiratory inflammation, what we'd call hay fever, back on Earth. While the villagers were leaving her to the green to heal through a slow, prolonged natural process, Lyra didn't hesitate. She used a standard medbay nebulizer, a simple fix for us that appeared as a miracle to them. The girl was breathing clearly within minutes, providing the emotional bridge we desperately needed. To smooth things over with the elder, we've exchanged some of our high-protein rations for local fauna samples. Silas is practically vibrating with excitement in the med bay, cataloging bioluminescent moss and seeds that look like polished jade. We're being respectful, following every reclusive protocol they have, yet I remain fixated on the look in the elder's eyes. Over the comms, Kalen's voice crackles as he hammers ground stakes for his antenna array against the backdrop of twin setting suns. Atmospheric interference is definitely rising, Captain. The ionosphere is charging up. I'm thinking it's a unique solar weather pattern. Maybe the dual suns create a localized magnetic storm. It would explain the Sky Eater myth as a literal storm that swallows the stars. I told him to keep an eye on it and ensure the tower was shielded. I didn't want any lightning grounding through the Beetle. As night draws in, the air turns a deep, shimmering indigo. We've been invited to their feast hall, a massive structure grown from a single, translucent fungus that glows with a soft, orange warmth. It's hauntingly beautiful. The younger villagers crowd around us, touching our tactical plates with curious fingers, fascinated by the metal seeds we carry. We are served strange food and fruits that taste of nature and honey, and a fermented sap that Silas actually seems to enjoy. Tastes better than the recycled slurry on the ship, he mutters, as he keeps his field scanner active under the table. But Captain, have you noticed the older ones? They aren't eating at all. They are listening. He's right. While the youth are curious about Earth, the elders remain silent, sitting near the exits with their heads tilted toward the perimeters. They aren't afraid of our guns or our tech. They're afraid of the noise we're making. It's not the sound of our voices, but the electronic hum of our drones, the radio waves from the towers, and the very heartbeat of the Beetle 68 sitting in the Undergrove Plaza. Lyra leans in, whispering so only I can hear. The girl I treated? She just whispered something to me. She said the Sky Eaters have long ears. She said they only come when the sky starts to sing. I look up at the round opening on the ceiling, looking straight up at the beautiful alien sky, and realize the stars are disappearing, not behind clouds, but behind a thickening, static-filled yellow-green haze. Kalen, I say into the comms, my voice dropping to a low rasp. How much power is that antenna drawing? When he confirms it's at maximum, I give the order immediately. Tone it down a little. I think we're being too loud. The feast did not end with a toast. It ended with the sound of low, deep thumps coming from deep inside the darkened forest, from all directions, thousands of them. The moment the twin suns dipped below the horizon, the atmosphere thickened with that same yellow-green haze. I order the crew, visors up everyone. This might be infectious for us. However, the elders didn't panic. They moved with a grim, practiced terror. The youthful warriors took the front, their obsidian-tipped vines glowing with a faint, defensive light, while the children were ushered into a reinforced subfloor beneath the hall. Others take out their katana-like swords, taking a warrior stance. It became clear in an instant. This structure wasn't just a place of celebration. It was built to be a bunker. Our sensors finally picked up what those electric interferences were. It wasn't any weather pattern or anomaly. It was our USF industrialized sensors now picking up thousands of activating life signs. I stand up first as my comm crackles open for orders. Doc, get inside the hall. Move the elders. Kalen, stay on that translator. I need to know if we can talk to these things. I barked over the rising wind. Lyra on me. Defensive formation theta. Then they hit. They looked like a nightmare reflection of the natives. They looked humanoid, but grotesque and wrong. Their skin was a dull, sickly yellow-green of bloated flesh, entirely devoid of the bioluminescence that makes the villagers beautiful. They were mutated, rabid, and they started to arrive in floods. Thousands of thumping and snarling, writhing, infectious, meaty humanoid aliens barreled down the forest floor, heading towards the village. A few tried to scale the BEETLE 68 in the plaza, but the ship's passive electric discharge threw them back in a violent spray of blue sparks. "Atmospheric jamming is peaking, sir," Lyra shouted, her rifle kicking against her shoulder as she dropped a leaper at 20 paces. "I'm cycling frequencies, but the telemetry is a mess. I can't get a lock on the source." Despite the interference, we fought with the military precision drilled into us by the USF. Between our taser rifles and the village's spears, we were holding the line. Our drones buzzed overhead, picking off targets like an easy meal. But the easy part of the battle ended when the sky fell. Agent infected, it was something different, something far worse. It leaped down from the canopy. It possessed 4 tattered, leathery wings and looked like a predator designed for the high ionosphere. Grotesque like the rest, a writhing mass of flesh with a wiggling maw and eye formations all over the body. Open wounds gaped with wet, bloated patches of flesh. And it was clearly attracted to the electronic hum of our gear like a shark to blood. "It's spewing something," Kalen yelled, stumbling back as a cloud of thick, yellowish spores drifted toward us. Filters on. Thank God for protocol. Our filters inside our visors snapped shut instantly, sealing us against the toxins. "Lyra, activate the BEETLE's auto turret." I commanded. "Doc, get those people deeper. We're taking the big one." Kalen and I focused our fire, kiting the beast and leading it into the open plaza. It was a battle against a flood of grotesque infection, a mass of infected flesh greedily stuck to the Alpha and its commanding horde. Horde after horde of the red, fleshy skins flooded in, forcing us to move, to aim, and to breathe the recycled air of our helmets. We were barely kiting the monster, our tasers doing little damage to the Alpha, desperately trying to get a clear line of sight. The battle was a desperate war of attrition. A mass of twitching, red fleshy skins surged forward, greedily stuck to the Alpha. We were forced into a constant, frantic retreat, our taser rifles doing little more than agitating the massive beast as we struggled to maintain our footing in the crystalline gravel. Every breath in our helmets felt heavy, recycled, and metallic as we dodged the swiping limbs of the smaller mutants that carpeted the plaza. Kalen and I focused our fire on the Alpha's joints, attempting to kite the monster into the center of the kill zone. It was a hellish dance. The creature was a mountain of muscle and malice, seemingly unfazed by our precision shots, while its smaller kin threw themselves at our tactical plates in a blind, rabid frenzy. We were barely holding them back, our automated drones working overdrive, while our boots were slipping on the slick, sickly ichor of the fallen. BEETLE 68 could end the nightmare with its dorsal pulse cannon. Above the chaos, Lyra's voice finally rose in a scream of triumph over the comms. "Captain, turret has a lock." And then BEETLE 68 groaned with a loud, piercing zipping noise right above us. The ship's cooling vents hissed, and the dorsal pulse cannon hummed with a bone-shaking frequency as it tracked the giant's erratic movements. Just as the Alpha reared back to unleash a fresh wave of spores, the targeting laser painted a steady crimson dot on its chest. The dawn didn't bring relief. It brought the cold, rotting clarity of a graveyard. The Cen-prime lay in the center of the plaza, a mountain of grotesque, leathery flesh that hissed as the dual suns hit its skin. When it died, it didn't just stop moving, it ruptured. A massive, oily burst of spores geysered into the air, coating the stone, the emerald moss, and the faces of the weeping survivors. I ordered everyone to back off immediately, but the damage was done. The nightmare had claimed 7 lives, 5 elders and 2 children, orphans who lived alone on the outskirts of the village and hadn't made it to the bunker in time. I stood there, my hand still gripping the taser rifle, watching the village warriors collapse in exhaustion. We had held the line with military precision, and the Beetle's auto turret had done its job, but the cost was written in the dirt. "It's my fault," I muttered into the comms lowly, my voice sounding hollow. We rang the bell and brought the noise with us. Doc Silas's voice snapped me back to reality as he and Kalen moved in high-intensity yellow hazard suits, deploying portable quarantine pylons. These spores, they aren't just biological waste. They are rewriting the local cellular structures. The natives are reacting to them like a toxin. One Tinto overdrive. I ordered the Beetle's external med bay, a deployable surgical pod usually reserved for battlefield trauma, to be dropped directly into the plaza. This was a piece of tech that could purge stage 4 cancer in a week and knit shattered spines in hours. It was designed to be the pinnacle of human achievement. But as we hauled the seizing, pale, rotting-skinned villagers into the pods, the monitors screamed in frustration. The mutation was aggressive and predatory, a hostile takeover of their DNA. "I can't stabilize the sequence," Silas shouted, his hands blurred over the genetic reconstructors. This tech was built for Earth biology, not for whatever nightmare this spore is programmed with. I left them to the struggle and walked toward the Elder's sanctum, my armor covered in crimson soot and alien blood. The Elder was sitting on the ground outside his ruined home, his bioluminescence flickering like a dying candle. "Elder," I began, my voice cracking. "What was that?" "We killed the thing, but then the spores. We're trying to fix them. Our ship, our medicine." "Stop," the Elder whispered, not even looking at me. "Your medicine is just more noise. Your light is just more heat." Overhearing the Elder, Kalen stepped forward, trying to play the diplomat. "Is this a nocturnal predator? Does it hunt you every season? If we stay, we can build a perimeter. We can give you shields. We can hunt them into extinction for you." The Elder finally looked up, his obsidian eyes filled with a weary, crushing weight of certainty. "You do not understand," he said, the translator struggling with the depth of his grief. "The Sky Eaters are not of the green. They are the shadow of the steel. Long ago, others came from the stars. Others like you. They brought the forge and the noise, and the Sky Eaters followed them. They are the universe's answer to the tear you make in the sky. They are the hunters of those who jump." He reached out and touched the Beetle 01 badge on my shoulder with a weary look. A look too familiar for me. It is the look of someone who is on the verge of giving up. Every second your ship hums, every time your drones sing to one another, you are screaming into the dark. And something is listening. You think you are protecting us, but you are a beacon in a world that survives by being silent. You cured a child of the unwellness, yes. But for that one life, you have called 1,000 deaths to our gates. He leaned back, his breath rattling. "Go, please. Take your metal, take your medicine, and take your noise back to the sky. If you stay, you will watch us turn into those grotesque husks you just killed. We would rather die as part of the green than live as monsters of the steel and rot. Leave us to the silence. It is the only safety we have left." Lyra looked at me, then back at the ship. The Beetle 68 sat in the plaza, its engines idling with a low, confident thrum that now sounded like a death knell. "Captain," she whispered, "he's right. Look at the scanners." I checked my HUD. Beyond the atmosphere, the long-range LiDAR was picking up hundreds of high-density signatures converging on the point where we have our ship landed. They weren't just nocturnal. They were celestial, and they were attracted to our technology, the radiation our tech gives off, and the noise, that so-called noise the Elder kept repeating. "I think we should leave, Cap." I looked back at the Elder, then the sick in the med pods, and back at the grotesque, exploded remains of the Alpha and the thousands of dead bodies of those mutated creatures being absorbed into the soil. The soil itself was turning a sickly yellow-green. Taking a deep breath through the visor, "Pack it up," I said, my voice remaining cold. "Gather the samples. Retract the med bay. We're leaving." The sterile hiss of the BEETLE's ventilation system fills the decontamination airlock. The heavy, industrial thrum of the ship feels louder now, more intrusive, as if the silence of the planet below is still ringing in our ears. Against the cold metal, there is a faint, organic rustle in the background, the sound of shifting leaves. We left Cen-prime with the weight of a graveyard in our hold. The Elder didn't give us a map or a weapon, but he gave us a ledger. It is a book made of deep emerald leaves that pulses with a faint, bioluminescent warmth, its pages shifting slightly as if they are still breathing. It is an organic record of a world that remembers everything the stars have forgotten. This might help you with what you seek, he had told us, his voice a dry rasp. A final gift of knowledge from a man who had just watched his world catch fire because of ours. What didn't leave them entirely defenseless? I ordered 2 of our heavy auto turrets to be detached and anchored into the stone plaza, and we spent a few hours teaching their youngest warriors how to cycle the power packs and aim the sensors. It felt like a hollow gesture, handing a man a shield while you're the one holding the lightning rod, but they took the tech with melancholic, fading smiles. It was a gesture of friendship from a people who simply wanted us to vanish. The airlock cycle afterward was a nightmare of chemical scrubs and UV burns as we went through 3 stages of decontamination, the BEETLE sensors screaming about foreign biological specimens. But as the 78-hour mark hit, the grim truth finally emerged in the lab. "It's clean, Captain," Doc Silas said, his voice sounding 10 years older over the comms as he stared at a microscopic feed of the spore. "On human DNA, it's inert. It's like it doesn't even see us. But on the natives," he trailed off, but we all saw the data. The spore didn't act like a typical toxin. It acted like predatory genetic overwrite. Even as we cruise in high orbit, the models are showing a 90% infection rate in the plaza zone. Without our med bay to buffer the change, that village will be a hive within weeks. We had inadvertently quickened the slow-motion extinction of such a peaceful species. The Mudant beetle for the next few days was funereal as we stayed in a stable orbit. Kalen hasn't left the sensor suite, and Silas is buried in the fauna samples, his usual cynical wit replaced by a grim, silent focus. We are all hit hard by this mission-induced trauma. We found the most beautiful species the USF could have dreamed of, and we broke them just by showing up. I'm in the cockpit now, with Lyra in the seat next to me. Her flight suit is unzipped to the waist, her eyes fixed on the linguistic generator as it tries to chew through the Elder's book. We sit in the glow of the twin suns, the hull absorbing the starlight as we drift. "Look at this, Captain," Lyra whispered, her finger tracing a line of the shifting, leafy script. The translator chirped, a soft, synthesized voice filling the quiet cabin talking about a warning and a prophecy passed down through generations. The Sky Eaters are the immune system of the heavens. They do not hunt the living, but they are driven by the scent of the noise. When the metal seed tears through the veil, the silence must be restored. She looked at me, her face pale in the golden white light of Alpha Centauri. "They aren't just monsters, are they, sir? They're a reaction. Like white blood cells attacking a virus." I looked out at the planet below. It was still green, still shimmering with that haunting, emerald beauty. But I knew that somewhere down there, in a peaceful village grown from trees, the noise we left behind was causing more suffering. "Keep deciphering," I said, my hand resting on the dashboard. "If we're the virus, we need to find out if there's a part of this galaxy that's already dead, or if we're just going to keep killing everything we touch." Through the long-range scanner's optics, Cen-prime looks peaceful, a marble of emerald and sapphire. But the 360 feed from our remaining drones doesn't lie. The Sky Eater carcass in the plaza has become biological ground zero, claiming 2 more deaths in just the last 12 hours. The networked root systems that Doc Silas was so fascinated by are visibly trying to wall off the infection, growing thick, thorned barriers around the plaza, but the plague is moving faster than the forest can adapt. I've spent the last 6 hours huddled over the ledger with Lyra and Kalen. It isn't a technical manual. These people have no concept of a galaxy, FTL travel, or even the vacuum of space. To them, the universe ends at the edge of their atmosphere. However, their history is a visceral warning written in the blood of a forgotten golden age. "Look at the translation for this cycle," Kalen whispered, his face pale in the flickering blue light of his datapad. The ledger describes a time when their race spanned the entire planet as a global symphony, harmonizing with the flora in a perfect, symbiotic loop, until the day the sky was split. "The texts are calling it the Great Tear," Lyra said, her voice tight with realization. "It says a seed of fire fell from the stars, bringing with it the great evil. It wasn't light, it wasn't heat, it was a scream that never stopped." I stared at the shifting leaves of the book, the truth settling like lead in my stomach. "That sounds like an FTL displacement effect whenever a ship comes out of the fold. I guess," I muttered, "or something similar to that." From the med station, Kalen's voice crackled over the internal comms. "That's exactly what it was, Cap. It sounds like someone FTL jumped to this system and brought whatever infection it was carrying into Cen-prime via debris or meteorite." But Silas countered with a darker theory. "Guys, whatever it is, it's much more contagious than anything in human history. Look at the carvings. It's a description of the Sky Eaters. They didn't just come once. They keep coming back until the noise is silenced. The plague is just the leftovers, the biological cleanup crew," Lyra added, her eyes fixed on the planet below. "It's an immune response of sorts. The universe doesn't like it when we rip holes in it. We're the aggressors, Captain, and the Sky Eaters are just cleaning up our arrogance. The Mudden Theebridge is suffocating. We came here looking for a new Earth to mine and settle, but instead, we found a world that has been hiding in the bushes for 10,000 years, terrified that someone would ring the doorbell again. And we didn't just ring it, we kicked the whole door down." "Captain," Lyra said, her hand hovering over the sublight throttles. "The last page of the Great Age mentions that a great metal carriage was seen in the sky. I think whatever or whoever came through the FTL jump carried the disease." I looked at the 360 overlay. Nothing out of the ordinary but the silence of the void and thousands of pseudoplanets and floating rock lines in the asteroid belt at the edge of the system. Kalen, scan the belt, specifically for high-density metallic structures. If there were others here before us, we should take a look. Survey the system thoroughly. Wenda cautiously asked the reason why. I felt the weight of our species' future on my shoulders. Because if we stay here, that village dies. And if we jump home, we might be bringing back the plague to Earth. We need to find out how the last metal seed shut up the noise. The galley's convection heater had just pinged. Silas was mid-prep on a round of dehydrated protein steaks when the Beetle 68's cockpit erupted with a symphony of high-priority telemetry pings. The 360-degree VR link was flickering under a sudden flood of high-density data. "Captain, contact. Multiple hits." Kalen's voice cracked over the internal comms, his civilian composure finally shattering. "LiDAR is bouncing off something massive. It was masked by the lunar shadow. It's a derelict of what seems to be a giant structure." I didn't wait, ordering everyone to the cockpit immediately. Doc killed the heaters and Lyra dove into the pilot's chair as the jump seats snapped down from the bulkheads with a series of heavy, metallic thuds. As we donned our headsets, the tactical overlay began to stitch together a 3D wireframe of the ghost in the dark. It wasn't a rock, it was a spear of cold, silent iron hanging in the Lagrange point of Cen-prime's moon. "Mapping it now," Lyra whispered, her fingers flying across the haptic glass. "God, look at the scale of it." The wireframe filled in, revealing a mothership that dwarfed the Beetle 68 by a factor of 1,000. It was a jagged, brutalist cathedral of a ship, scarred by millennia of micrometeoroid impacts and cosmic radiation. But as the laser altimetry defined the hull plates and engine cowlings, a collective chill settled over the bridge. "Captain," Silas mutters, leaning toward the holographic projection, "the structural geometry, the reinforced ribbing on the lateral hull. That's almost similar to our USF design philosophy. But it's wrong somehow. It's too advanced." It's like looking at a Ferrari but far more advanced, way beyond our current technology level and scale. Kalen added, his face ghostly in the blue light of the scan. Laser dating is still coming back. The carbon decay on the outer hull skin. Captain, this ship has been sitting in this graveyard for over 7,000 years at the least. It's a fossil of an ancient civilization. The silence in the cockpit was absolute. Our history books barely go back that far. Yet here was a Terran-esque titan drifting in the Alpha Centauri system long before we even discovered fire. Lyra, bring us in. I ordered, my voice sounding like gravel. Sublight thrusters only. Keep the thermal signature at 0. I don't want to wake up anything that's been sleeping that long. The BEETLE 68 activated as the quad-ion thrusters breathed a faint orange mist into the vacuum. We began our slow, cautious approach, creeping toward the Titanic derelict. As we drew closer, the scale of the destruction became clear. The mothership was no mere husk, as if it had been hunted. Massive, jagged gouge marks scarred the heavy-duty hull along the aft abdomen, as though it had been blasted open and violently torn apart. Look at the bridge section, Kalen pointed out, his voice a mere breath. It's been vented. The atmospheric seals didn't fail. They were ripped open from the outside and inside at the same time. Wedrifted alongside the ancient hull, our ship looking like a parasite next to a whale. The orange industrial lights of our cockpit and the searchlights at the front outer hull reflected off the pitted, dark metal of the Titan. Through the 360 feed, I could see the great tear the Elder had spoken of, not a hole in the sky, but a massive breach in the mothership's engine housing, most likely its FDL core. It's like looking at something that ceased to exist thousands of years ago, yet looks and feels so familiar, Lyra whispered, her hand tightened on the throttle. As if it is us, 7,000 years ago, or 7,000 years from now.